To begin this video, I wish to express my intentions. My intentions are not to defame, harass, or slander, or just to complain about my personal woes, but to expose a very real danger online that poses a threat to many children. In this video, I'll do my best to give my in-depth analysis of my disturbing findings over the past 2 years, in which ties many people, many big content creators as well, into illicit activities, and which involve minor children. My intentions are to separate my bias from the facts and take accountability for my own wrongdoings as well in the process, for a better future analysis of this dire situation that is still ongoing. This video is free to use. You may re-upload it, stitch it, cut it, and use the video without consequence to your heart's content. Any privacy or copyright strikes you receive will be from those trying to suppress this information, as they so desperately have been trying to do since early of 2022. I encourage you to spread this video. Even if you despise Plagued Moth, I implore you to take this time to absorb the reality of what is truly going on behind the scenes in entertainment here on the YouTube platform. Austin Michael Pocock was born in 1997 in Clarkston, Michigan. Raised in a somewhat structured lower middle class household, while his life was what most would consider normal, Austin himself, however, was anything but normal. With a self-diagnosis of autism and hyperfixations on children's media, he quickly became more and more off-putting to his mother specifically, as he attempted to pursue, with all things considered, a rather successful career in YouTube, at least for a time. Austin would form a channel called That Brony Show, where he would rant and discuss all things My Little Pony, until eventually dissolving this idea to latch onto the ongoing creepypasta craze, making friends with key figures like Scare Theater and one particular individual who now currently goes by Slimebeast, the author of a minute self-inserting one-off creepypasta titled Abandoned by Disney. Slimebeast would be one of the few to be recruited as a scriptwriter and close associate to Austin as he rebranded to ThatCreepyReading in 2014. Despite avidly denying knowing Slimebeast upon his exposure as a child predator, they continue to remain extremely close, as Austin tries to do with a select few content creators that have held him up and formed friendships with over the years. His content would quickly evolve from creepypastas to top-down countdowns, and now he scarcely uploads at all, lest he has a majority of creators doing the work on a video for him, in which often makes grossly inaccurate attempts to demonize other content creators and individuals online. At some point during his early years in content creation, like many content creators, Austin had to learn how to navigate, but he would do it often in ways that were not appropriate, especially while, according to him, his audience is primarily children. Austin would go onto his Tumblr page, which still remains up to this day, and type out a very detailed story about he began to masturbate in front of his mother. He would then post this, and really didn't see a problem with it. This behavior did not cease as time went on, and as he matured, all the while he was an adult at this time as well. Like many content creators, he hosted a Discord server, and still does. A Discord which was formerly unseen by the public eye, with the exception of a few screenshots until now, as his Discord has been paywalled. As his audience grew, his lack of empathy and conscience did as well, allowing more and more alarming activities to occur under his administration, and often with his approval, like the publishing of erotic art and real-life gore, into a server in which he fully acknowledges had children in it, and still does. But things actually get far worse than that when you dig deeper. Public discords aren't the easiest to manage, but many alarming flags were raised during the operations of this now supposedly defunct server, like minors having cybersex in the voice chat channels and watching pornography, the enabling of graphic sexual dialogue between adults deemed safe by Austin and minor children, the facilitating and victimization of his minor audience by allowing a dark web child predator to operate on his server. Yes, like I said, it gets worse. Ripper, a name that either puzzles you or makes the hair stand up on the back of your neck. In 2021, a person using the moniker Ripper would begin to establish themselves as what many have called a dark web boogeyman. A gore enthusiast with the worst taste, this Ripper is in fact a copycat of a very real, very horrendous group using the name. The group has created one of the most infamous and secretive child exploitation networks to ever exist. And this individual, using the name as their identity, took inspiration from that group and was determined on making a name for themselves in our world and internet fame as a whole. This individual would go on to create compilations of some of the most violent and horrific child sexual abuse material to ever be known online, including publishing Daisy's destruction all over the clear web. This man would post on dark web pedophile sites and ask predators to give him custom content to be featured in his mixtapes. One incident saw him asking them to carve his name and the mixtape's name into the children's bodies as they were raped on film. This man is Charles Ferguson Glass, and he is a friend of Austin, and he has victims within ThatCreepyReading's Discord server, or as he called it, Creepy's Dungeon.
So Moth did actually send me a question, and it revolves around that. And
yeah, you can. I'm quite comfortable talking about Fergie.
Okay, cool. Because I'll bring it up just because Moth asked it.
Because like that's like one of his main like fucking arguments.
So
that, like
Moth wanted me to ask you, and I'll quote it: "Has Fergie/Ripper ever been in your Discord server?" And that is from Moth.
There are 2 instances of him apparently being in there.
Glass would go on to be extremely active in the server until his account was deleted upon a mistake he made, when he tried to hide himself and disappear. He failed to activate his VPN, then posted under his Ripper moniker, and his info was leaked and subsequently reported to authorities. But not before this Ripper copycat did what he does best. He manipulated children into graphic conversations and private video calls for sexual purposes. And Austin did nothing, and refused to address this despite it being brought up multiple times, and him admitting he was in fact there. Further proof which ties him into this was comparing Discord IDs of the users that to which of other servers in which Ripper was banned from. In fact, Austin saw something in common with Glass: the desire for money and the desire for fame. Glass would quickly implant a takedown idea on an alleged terrible person who he claimed ruined his life. A man who does evil, evil things, the dark web child predator claimed. A content creator called Plagued Moth. It was tossed around to add Moth to a compilation of bad YouTubers, but Austin quickly realized this creator was something more and made a substantial amount of money, which made him jealous and very, very angry.
So I can understand why they would take your thing seriously. And
Moth makes more money than me. Okay. Moth is a bigger creator than me by thousands of dollars. Why would they take my word over his?
But your following is still bigger than his.
No, it's not, because he had 400,000 followers. All right, I have 350,000 followers.
Move on from
Empirically, you're fucking wrong, lady.
With Glass's help, he formed a plan to do a takedown on Plagued Moth solo, but Austin saw more in Moth and decided to take it a step further. He created an email claiming that Moth was selling gore and possibly child exploitation material and submitted it to his main platform, Patreon. And due to the grievous accusations, his Patreon was removed as a precaution pending investigation. Despite being able to return to the platform ultimately due to the instability and unreliability of Patreon's service, Moth decided to seek more secure premium platforms. The agent assigned to the case, Magda, was terminated from her employment at Patreon. Moth has never dealt with illegal material, and uncensored content ceased after a brief time in 2021. This attack, however, all happened in 2022, prompting a then very publicly unstable and seeking mental health help, Moth, to reply in a very hostile manner to the attacks. As by the end of February, instead of keeping his anonymity, ThatCreepyReading went to Twitter to rally a call to harass Plagued Moth further and take, quote, proper credit for taking down a monster, as he could not keep his ego and jealousy in check when Moth was puzzled as to the sudden attack and removal.
So I decided to come out and explain that no, Plagued Moth wasn't being attacked by Kiwi Farms and all these trolls. What he didn't know is that it was in fact just one autistic man who was completely okay with the stuff that he was posting. I mean, like, is reporting okay or is it not okay? If you guys are the anti-reporting side, then you should be getting on Moth's ass just as much as mine. And, you know, he did that on his like main 20,000 follower plus group, seen by 3,000 people, 55 likes. You know, I did this privately as like a single individual, not as a YouTuber.
He needed validation. He needed relevancy in his dying career. He wanted to feel powerful. Initially, Austin persisted with a common theme of falsely accusing someone with no evidence, insisting Plagued Moth had the full Daisy's destruction clip, and that was the only logical explanation to his Patreon success, because he quickly read that supposedly Peter Scully sold it for $10,000. Not only is this highly inaccurate and paranoid circumstantial evidence at best, it's a grievous blow to victims like Daisy who were really victimized, as he undermines the case by pushing this sort of misinformation just to angrily push his agenda against someone. He quickly backtracked this statement due to public backlash. But if any of his claims were true, and Austin witnessed this as he claims he did within the HiveMind Discord server, then why did he wait 4 months of paying for Moth's Patreon, paying for this supposed illegal and disgusting content, to enact his attack, and why does only one screenshot dated from 2021 exist of this supposed Gore content and illegal activities and minor endangerment, and no other screenshots or videos exist of any other accusation put forward so far? After all, 2021 is right on track for when uncensored content was available, and at the time when it ceased, Moth had already dealt with the repercussions and resumed making normal videos. This is because Austin lied. His mission allegedly was to protect children. He made claims that kids were accessing illegal and adult material, but admitted himself he had no access to the said adult section of the Discord because he would not do the mandatory ID age verification that we still implement to this day. According to Austin, he was extremely upset when he was able to access Patreon videos, but not the heavily age-restricted and ID-verified promotion of OnlyFans creators and other adult channels and conversations, in which he claims all users, including alleged minors, had access to.
Yeah, but if I can pay for the Patreon, then why doesn't he let me see the nudes after paying from Patreon?
Caught in another lie. A man who had admittingly huge failures with the opposite sex, now using trending phrases to hide behind as he does with every argument, as he opens with that he is autistic and basically cannot be held responsible for most of his words or actions. And another rather degrading statement that he and Slimebeast both are supposedly asexual, to which they both demand is proof enough that they could not possibly be sexual predators, despite the alarming amount of evidence against them. A man who openly tells his minor audience about masturbating in front of his own mother. A man who called Shane Dawson's comments about children an honest mistake, and a past shame that should be forgotten. The pattern begins to form greatly, as it always has and does for those in his monsters that he surrounds himself with. But it begs a rather hypocritical question. With actions and statements like this, how do you condemn Plagued Moth for a smile or a dark joke? Curious, no? Diving into the convoluted history on ThatCreepyReading can be difficult, as he has made multiple attempts to hide his past behavior, and many failures. One reoccurring associate is his real-life friend and possible ex-girlfriend, Sydney Lewis, aka LazyBedHead, who lives a mere 30 or so minutes away from him. Lazy has an even more aggressive history of abusing misinformation for clout grabbing. Despite this, she has garnered a rather decent following of primarily mentally unstable minors, and other like-minded individuals like her who favor child content as adults, and purposely seek drama. But outside of mirroring every hit piece her friends create, primarily to target and feed on the cloud of Plagued Moth's reputation solely, her role in this story is actually far darker. You see, in her defense of ThatCreepyReading, Sydney would go on with a few of her teenage friends to fabricate an elaborate story. A story to help clear Charles Glass's name as Ripper. Exploiting the instability of self-harm Twitter users and a bit of poor Reddit handiwork in forging documents, Lazy concocted a tale in which a teenager was searched and arrested as Ripper, providing a supposed search warrant and a possible interview, and much more with, on the surface, seemed enough to discredit Plagued Moth and clear their names. However, there's a fatal error. They didn't expect me to have the warrants. And these warrants held no magistrate's seal, meaning no judge signed these. On top of that, anyone with a minor interest in law could use their skills of deduction to determine that these documents are very fake, as a search warrant is in no way structured this way or given in this manner. This would become a huge red flag to their clique, and a toxic association in protecting other pedophiles, as Lazy herself forced her current boyfriend to delete his entire social media presence without warning, including an aspiring streaming channel and career. Rumor has it was discovered that he was cheating on her with what many believe to be a minor. This pattern would become continuous as they regularly roped in Slimebeast and his desperate clangs for relevancy and his downfall after being discovered to have groomed a child and been a collector of lolicon, as well as exposing others to Daisy's destruction via Twitter.
Would you want your children named?
You are trying that and you just can't, so that's why you're upset.
Would you want
I
your
already
children
proved
named
that.
on the stream? Would you want your children named on the stream?
As time went on, and I refused to stop fighting, I made the mistakes of reacting extremely poorly, at all angles truly. I said horrific things and I created turmoil and stress for my own community and my own fear and struggle and anger, and that was not fair. I truly ruined my own channel early on with all of this by not being patient and acting accordingly, and thus it took over 2 years now to this date to finally collect and put together this piece. And for that I am truly sorry, and I beg for your forgiveness as a community. I am responsible for my own actions regardless of my trauma and pain, but my only defense is that I was attacked at a time when I was suffering greatly and at risk mentally, and I was asking publicly for help. Still, I could have done better. Eventually, with the help of hostile individuals and commentary like Lyrics and Turkey Tom, ThatCreepyReading and Slimebeast were able to subdue the Plagued Moth YouTube channel via termination by false copyright strikes in a mission to suppress information and flood the algorithm and other search engines with slander against Moth. This eventually would backfire as the channel returned, but not before every search engine was flooded with Plagued Moth is a pedophile, Plagued Moth is a monster, or other clickbait titles to rope innocent viewers and young children into this story and guide them into the false narrative. And this, on the surface, is what they needed. This is the tactic, the very same kind of abuse that rapists use to manipulate and dominate victims as well. It's something that many people out there who have been through domestic abuse can understand thoroughly. Isolate and control. These individuals who release these hit pieces, by the way, have you noticed a reoccurring theme? They're all the same friends. It's not a bunch of individuals noticing a problem. It's a collective character assassination by the YouTube Boys Club and their wannabe content creator orbiters, who many of which have very disgusting habits of their own. A very problematic boys club in which profits off suffering and lies. A true realm of hypocrisy. For example, Eric, who runs the Scare Theater channel, has taken it upon himself to publicly crucify Plagued Moth multiple times, accusing him of pedophilia and other horrendous crimes without evidence, purely just using his reputation and word against him. Despite admitting he has never even heard of Plagued Moth or seen a single video, and that he acts on the will of ThatCreepyReading, who is a common paid collaborator of his. This is a common theme, but I guess in his defense, if you were longtime friends with a guy and then someone who's extra spooky came along and accused him of something, maybe you'd blindly back him up, but unfortunately for Austin, there's too much evidence here. Not to mention Scare Theater himself has some answering to do as far as his video on Daisy's destruction. While many regard it as good, it has a key flaw. Why is it supposedly a 17-year-old Eric obtained a password-protected file allegedly containing the abuse of an 11-month-old baby at the hands of Peter Scully and his girlfriends, and was able to obtain screenshots from inside this file for his video? And what happened after that? Did he actually obtain child sexual abuse material, open the file with a password, and take some screenshots? Or was it all a lie to begin with? A common theme with these creators. Other far more toxic associates of Austin are Thomas Markin, aka Turkey Tom, a racist alt-right commentator who has personal friends with the owner of the doxing harassment forum Kiwi Farms. Thomas, who was recently named in a manifesto of a mass shooter, is held in extremely high regard by Austin and his friends. And Tom, who also has a troubled past peppered with pedophilia and accusations, and false accusations coming from him, including having to shut his entire Discord down after a pedophile was sexualizing children in his chats. A moderator, in fact. as well as asking his close friend Destiny to see a 15-year-old's nudes if possible. This is the same man who uses being a kid as an excuse for multiple years. This man is friends with Destiny. Destiny is accused of posting revenge porn by multiple people, as did Slimebeast of Mr. Creepypasta and a girl that he had an affair with. Turkey Tom's gripe comes in as he was cuckolded by his close friend and known lolicon and rape apologist, Lolly Liam, aka Lyrics. It should be known that Tom also has pushed and doubled down on false pedophilia accusations multiple times, including against Pyrocynical, and a guy apparently named MrEnter. After avidly defending Christopher Wolf and Austin's pedophilia as funny, Tom proceeds to project his anger in Plagued Moth's publication of his humiliation fetish and self-harm in response. Austin can be seen on Reddit launching a mass report attack, utilizing the often demonized r/YouTube drama, resulting in the false removal of Plagued Moth's initial channel. Slimebeast took it upon himself to continue to flow the algorithm as he does to this day, with false information and baseless accusations to clickbait viewers and further demonize Moth on the surface, as their click quickly worked to suppress any and all exposés on themselves, and to discredit anyone who opposed them. But this video isn't about what happened to Moth. Austin isn't just a problematic individual because of his friends. While Slimebeast is the most threatening as he controls much of Austin's audience as the sole moderator and operator of the largest horror subreddit directed towards children, r/Creepypasta, Austin himself has a rather alarming history with the sexualization of minors. However, he sees himself as something other than a pedophile. According to his words, he is a heapophile, a title that he has avidly defended until his recent conflict as he realized it's not received very well. A heapophile is a pedophile that specifically prefers the ages of between 11 and 15.
It depends. Are you getting your rocks off? Are you getting your rocks off because you're fucking a 14-year-old, or are you getting your rocks off because of a nice pair of tits?
That clip was from a conversation with Leo Convoy, another friend of Austin's who he has recently thrown under the bus alongside others like DaftPina, now known as DovenDraws, who is fully aware and heavily involved in the sexual exploitation acts inside Austin's Discord. In fact, according to Austin, he answers to his own little clique of content creators he calls the Council, which formerly included Leo Convoy and DaftPina both, as well as Slimebeast. And the number 15. That age is a common theme with predators like Austin. Turkey Tom has also sought girls this age multiple times, as does his bull Lyrics.
What's up, beautiful?
Oh my god, don't even.
How old are you?
I'm 15.
As well as Christopher Wolf, aka Slimebeast, Tormentalist, Motorhead, You're in a Coma, Stinko Games, Tormy, and Little Pony Lover. Even Keemstar has a history with the number, a close friend of Turkey Tom. Keemstar somehow avoided controversy years ago after allegedly successfully getting a 15-year-old girl to strip on cam for him and a friend. The age preferences and victims is a part of the pedophile archetype that is psychologically evaluated by authorities and other professionals. And with how deeply Austin is embedded into larger YouTubers, he raises the question of just how much others hide and protect. For example, Austin was also present and very aware of what Mama Max was hiding and doing, as were other creators. But what is often not discussed is the possible criminal aspect of what Mama Max allegedly has done. If to be understood correctly, according to some ordinary gamers host Mudahar, he loosely described how Max was harboring child exploitation material on a drive and never reported it. This resulted in major backlash, and ultimately Max's downfall at the hands of all his friends. But what they don't tell you is, to save themselves and their face, and their clout grab from being outed, they all knew and supported it, including the clout goblin and self-described heapophile, ThatCreepyReading, who despite explaining his sole purpose was to protect kids and get rid of monetizing death and gore from Plagued Moth, who he deems as disgusting, he continues to work with racists, pedophiles, and other bigots, including Jonathan Rodriguez, also known as Cold Raven's Nest, a rather disgraced bigot and a favorite among degenerate kids. A deadbeat racist with a fetish for feces as well. Cold Raven has made a reputation clinging to the coattails of far more successful content creators like Plagued Moth and Disturbed Reality, and so on. Despite really never having a claim to make of his own, Coldraven also sold zoo sadism content, child abuse, and rape via the r/MondoGore subreddit, in tandem with Mondo Asia in 2021, who was subsequently banned and possibly arrested in their native country for the distribution of said material. This occurred after Plagued Moth personally reported the mega drives in the subreddit to IC3, and then informed Coldraven via telephone. Coldraven was subsequently outed for fabricating evidence of pedophilia in retaliation against Plagued Moth for exposing his disgusting behavior, including this act, and his rape culture's Discord, and promotion of obtaining nudes from unknown girls on Instagram and showing them in his Discord without their consent or knowledge, for his audience to rate them. Despite all of this, the group sees him as an important and reliable pillar to lean on for guidance and to stand behind for a moral grandstanding against monetization of specifically only Plagued Moth's content. The idea is power in numbers, as Plagued Moth has not made attempts to rally other content creators to defend him, but rather amidst multiple incidences of poor reactionary statements, pushed actual evidence instead. They also often cry wolf about false copyright takedowns and privacy complaints, despite their videos all remaining up, and being avid supporters of silencing critics. Hypocrisy is rife in the circle of pigs. But as Coldraven said, it doesn't matter what evidence is out there, because it's us versus him, and we have way more people, so it doesn't matter. Austin himself is tied deeply into lolicon, gore, and smut, and like his associate, truly expresses his hypocrisy and envy towards his clear lack of talent, skill, and ambition, via violent projection of his own failures and perversions, which ultimately exposes his true motives and lies. Austin has done nothing but struggle financially, quickly wasting away any donations in monetary gain and cheap cannabis and Adderall, as he revealed during his time on Turkey Tom's live streams against Plagued Moth. However, a consistent theme in his actions as well as his friends is monetary gain. Like all of us, Austin likes money and wants to make more of it, but Austin will go to great lengths to get it, and was very angry when his opposition would seek it for their family, in a far more successful way via their own content. Austin has a reoccurring theme in tandem with his partner Chris Wolf in starting GoFundMes for supposed big ambitions and never fulfilling, later going on live streams with a piss-poor excuse as to what happened. Slimebeast specifically has started over 5, including getting hundreds of dollars to self-publish his plagiarized creepypasta and AI-generated stories to Amazon Publishing, which is a free service. But most recently between the two were multiple GoFundMes for legal aid and a fabricated lawsuit against other content creators, namely Plagued Moth, to which after getting several $100s, the group once again began a live stream, this time featuring LazyBedHead, and spend it bragging that Plagued Moth is homeless and celebrating that. And due to their actions, no lawsuit needed. And that was that. So where did all this money go? A strange projection for someone who constantly cries that the opposition is scamming their fans. As for Moth being homeless, Slimebeast and Austin were very public about their endeavors to ruin the man who exposed their perversions, contacting every sponsor, making various Reddit posts as a call to arms, and once they doxed Plagued Moth, Slimebeast harassed his place of employment, citing his own videos as reason, until the pressure resulted in Moth losing his job because of constant phone calls, sometimes up to 35 a day, after which his family lost his home. This caused great complications and stress, and essentially put his family on the streets as they had no family nearby to help. This included their insulin-dependent daughter, in which they avidly celebrated and bragged about doing. Austin clearly despises work, talking as if he does anything. He and his questionable roommate both recently lost well-paying jobs, as seen in one of Austin's many GoFundMes, and personal interviews that were conducted with friends and family of his. He kept leaving work multiple times because it was either too hard, and one time he got a splinter. So then he proceeded to crowdfund, using his malnourished guinea pigs as some sort of sob story. Now Austin has taken up a fast food job shortly after mocking a homeless man for going to the gym. Karma works in funny ways. He is currently planning another GoFundMe as he is close to losing his apartment in Pontiac, Michigan. A true example of rules for thee and not for me, as he would actively encourage reporting and harassment of others who started GoFundMes, including a cry for help from a man wanting to be admitted for suicidal ideation and wanted his family to be safe. Now, as Slimebeast and his own credibility have diminished as his following, Austin has made attempts to secure his stability and home and backtrack some statements he has said because he fears homelessness. The very same nightmare he wished upon a family with children, he fears will happen to him. We at No Happy Endings do not forgive, we do not forget. And there will be no mercy to those who bring harm to children. And Austin is a very real danger to children, as his partner, Christopher Wolf, is. Between the two, there is truly an unknown amount of victims, and their desperate attempts at protection and harboring of a dangerous dark web predator are certainly something enough to cause alarm, especially given that Wolf himself spends hours of his unemployed days harassing people via DMs and using AI software to make weird slander videos and photos. He also uses illegal IP phishing methods via DMs so that he can silence his critics and exposers and attempt to blackmail people for help. I now asked you to see what I've laid out for you and ask yourself, even by association, how is any of this okay? And now that Moth is doing uncensored content, and the exact same Discord remains to this very day, and he is more offensive than ever, with videos nearly daily, why has Austin not launched another attack? Surely he's concerned about the children. Oh, no, that wasn't the case, was it? He was mad about someone else's hard-earned money and success. That level of income no longer exists, so as you said, you got what you wanted and don't have to address your accusations. But you do. I ask that everyone repost this video, re-upload it, share this in every post and blog, bring it to Reddit, bring it to every place he wants it hidden, bring it to Austin, bring it to his friends. Show the world what the YouTube Boys Club is hiding, because this is only Austin's story. Some of your favorite content creators know these men are dirty, and they only care about some money. This video and now the channel will most certainly be marked for a massive takedown once again, but with a quiet Turkey Tom after being named as an inspiration for a mass shooting, and Slimebeast preoccupied with yet another false pedojacketing campaign, this time against Mr. Creepypasta. It begs the question of who Austin will turn to in order to defend himself, as he can't do that alone, and to avoid addressing his disgusting actions, friendships, and disgusting statements. To support us directly, and possibly help us pursue legal action, see the links in the description. Any advice is also welcome. Thank you so much for watching. Please note that this will most likely be my final video on this topic. No more Slimebeast, no more Austin, none of it. I see this as enough. I see this as adequate. But as I said, it can be the foundation of a deeper dive. There is a lot more to unturn for every stone these creeps put down. And I'm not the first to try to show, and I'm not the first that they try to take down either. I want to give a special shout out to the many creators and friends who made this video possible. You may take credit if you wish, but I will leave you out of it as to not cause drama and harassment towards you. But again, thank you for all your help. Stay safe out there, and remember, if it bleeds, it leads.